Hey everybody, I'm Juliana and you're watching Sprocket Girl. My disc brake pads really need to be replaced. I've had them for 2 years actually since I got my bike and I've never replaced them. So today's the day to do that and I'm going to take you guys along on the, well, not the ride, but for the maintenance work, and I'll show you how to do it. It's really simple and straightforward. It's pretty quick and it's a good thing to know how to do yourself. Let's get to it. So it's important to know what setup you have on your bike in order to choose the right brake pads for you. So in my case, I have the Shimano XT brake setup on my stump jumper. So I went out and I did a little bit of research and I found the brake pads that would work with my setup. So what I got is the Shimano J04C, both for the front and the rear. I'm going to be replacing both of them. And in my case, I opted for metallic brake pads. So these are called metallic, they're also called sintered brake pads. And you also have a different option to go with organic or so-called resin brake pads. So whether you get metallic or organic brake pads will depend on a number of factors such as your weight, what kind of trails you ride, the trail conditions, and a couple other factors. So in my case, I tend to ride my brakes pretty hard because I'm not just riding cross-country or more flat trails, but I tend to ride a lot of downhill and I really ride my brakes pretty hard most of the time. And yeah, I did a little bit of research and for me personally, the metallic brake pads were the way to go. But I would suggest that if you're looking to buy new brake pads, just do some research yourself and take all these factors into consideration so that you can make a choice that's right for you between metallic and organic brake pads. Let's take a closer look at the components that came along with these brake pad sets. So I bought the same set for the front and the rear. You don't necessarily have to do that, but in my case I just opted to do that. So let's take a look at one of them. So in here we have the two brake pads. I decided to go with ones that has this so-called fin here that's supposedly good for ventilating heat out or away from the brake pads and from the rotor. And there's also a spring in here which will go between the two pads and which I'll show you how to install. And then this setup also comes with a cotter pin. I'm actually not going to use that cotter pin because I already have a threaded pin with a clip, which I'm just going to use the old one of these for both the front and the rear. We're going to do an unboxing, the most exciting part. Not really. All right. One thing to be aware of is that these are directional. So you'll see this one has a small R on it, and this one has a small L on it. So we'll be installing these correctly in the direction of travel. We'll show you how to do that. And this clip also comes with a little L here on this side and a little R on this side. So we're gonna have to align these with the brake pads in the correct way. All right, I'm gonna use a 3mm Allen wrench to remove the current brake pads. But first things first, on my setup, there's a little tiny pin clip, if you look on this side. All right, so this little pin clip here is important because it'll keep the pin from coming out if it somehow got loose. So we wanna make sure that we don't lose it. So I'm gonna take this off really carefully. There we go. And I'm gonna put this in a safe place. Now I'm gonna remove the pin with my 3mm Allen wrench. Just get that in there. And there we go. All right, so one thing you can do to keep your pin clip safe is to clip it back on here. That's what I'm gonna do. There we go. Keep that in a safe place. So we're just gonna kind of shimmy these out. It's pretty easy. Just kind of shimmy them out in parallel. And there we go. Now you can see they're not terribly worn, but they're definitely about 50% or a little bit more worn. Yeah, and it's a good thing to keep an eye on your pads and replace them whenever it's necessary. So I am just gonna get rid of these. I am not gonna use this spring here, this old one, but I'm gonna use the new spring that came with the set. So now we need to make sure that we get the direction right with the pads and also with the spring. So if you were to stand like this, you want the one that says R for right to be on the right side in the direction of travel. So here we go, this is the right one. So that one will go here, and this is the left one, so that one will go on this side. And the spring has the same designation on it, left and right. So we'll match up left with left and right with right. It's pretty straightforward. See, there's the left, left, so that one goes there, and right goes with right. So to make the installation of the new brake pads easier, I'm going to remove the rear wheel. So I've already taken out the through axle, and I'm just going to remove this guy here. So to make sure that you have enough room to install your brake pads and to have the rotor have enough room to be between the brake pads, you're probably going to have to push your pistons back out. You can use something that's like non-marring, so don't use something metal, but something plastic. So we use these pieces of plastic here. You can use a tire lever. If you don't have a plastic brake pad spreader, then basically you just go in here. We just use these two pieces of plastic like that together with a screwdriver in between to push the pistons back out. That'll give us enough room to install the new brake pads and to have the rotor fit in between as well. So now we're just going to put these new ones in. Just going to shimmy them back in here the way we took them out. Make sure the direction is correct. And there you go. And we're going to screw this pin back in, jiggle it around a little bit so that it's aligned correctly. There we go. Screw it back in. Don't forget the pin clip at the end. There we go. All right, so we did the rear now. Everything's installed, the new brake pads are in, the wheel's back on, and now I'm gonna do the front, and basically it's the same exact thing. Alright guys, now you know how to install new brake pads. It's pretty easy, it's pretty quick, and it's a good thing to know how to do. One small tip, when your pads are out, don't grab your brakes. You'll have a hard time getting your pistons back apart and you'll need a special tool for that. So just make sure that you're not grabbing your brakes while you're doing this work and everything should be fine. And a big thanks to Feedback Sports, whose stand I was using. It's really handy to have my bike off the ground to be able to do this kind of maintenance. So thanks guys. Also, if you like my channel, hit the subscribe button, like some of the videos, and hit that little bell icon because then you'll get a notification every time I post a new video. Thanks guys, I'll see you around. Bye!